All right, guys, I'm here with Ricardo Bueno, the head of partnerships over at Follow Up Boss, somebody that I look up to. He has a ton of data, if you will, that he hasn't always been at Follow Up Boss. So he was working with agents before, and what we're going to be talking about today, turning your database into dollars, is we were talking off camera before we started recording about just what a common issue it is to overlook this gold mine that you're already sitting on. And so we're going to help you mine that gold mine and refocus on that. So Ricardo, welcome to the Massive Agent Podcast, my friend. How's it going?
It's going great, man. Thanks. Thank you. It's awesome to be here.
Thank you. No, this is cool. And you and I have known each other since before you were at Follow Up Boss. And, obviously Follow Up Boss is a partner of ours here at the podcast, and that's been amazing. But I'm excited just to talk a little bit more about the database. Okay? It's something that isn't sexy.
We all know we need one.
We all know we need one. Some agents don't have one, or it's just like a Word doc or an Excel spreadsheet, or they use Realty Juggler or some random CRM. Cool. But what are you seeing? Let's start at the beginning, my friend. Why are we talking about databases instead of better TikTok videos or something sexy?
That's funny. It's funny that you say talking about my database or talking about databases isn't sexy, because you're right, it's not. When we talk about or think about technology, when we talk about, forward-thinking marketing campaigns, I think the thing is you don't need to spend thousands or tens of thousands of dollars to do good marketing. You don't to develop a brand and to become authority in your market. You just fundamentally don't need to do that. It's great if you have the funds to do that, but you don't need to do that. I think that a lot of the best realtors, a lot of really good realtors are just brilliant at the basics.
Yes.
And one of those items of being brilliant at the basics is having a strong, sturdy sort of database that you continue to nurture over and over and over again and over time. I think, like you had said, we met. It's been a long career for me. It's been about 11 going on 12 years in the industry. So it's kind of wild to think about.
Yeah.
My first CRM was Act. If you guys remember that, if you all listening remember a CRM called Act.
I don't. I haven't even heard of that.
It's old school, and it's been an interesting career. I've worked at a lot of software companies, and for me, it's always been not just an issue of my teaching style is not just this is how you use the tool. It's this is why this tool is important. Here's how you leverage it in your arsenal to develop an all-encompassing marketing strategy. And I think that's how you need to think about technology. I think a lot of people ask, well, what's the best tech stack? Answering that question is so elusive because, we don't all run our businesses the same way.
Right.
The way agent A runs his business is not the same way agent B runs his business, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What you have to do is, when you're analyzing your tech stack, is kind of assess how is it that you run your business, and then mold leveraging that technology around, your processes and procedures, if that makes sense. But one of the things that I always did when I went on appointments, and at my previous role, one of my previous roles, my job was to go out in the field, meet one-on-one with agents, analyze their tech stack, and come up with a system to basically get them to implement in their market to get better at doing what they do. And so one of the questions that I always started with was, instead of trying to spend thousands of dollars to generate leads, let's focus on the low-hanging fruit. Let's focus on the stuff that we already have. And most people have been in the business for 4 years, 6, 8 years, a decade selling real estate. So the question I had was, well, the low-hanging fruit is all of your past clients. What are you doing to nurture them and convert them into repeat and referral business? And one of the ways that you follow up with your past clients is you look at your database and you just kind of assess, what am I doing to touch and nurture all of my past clients to turn them into brand advocates that are really going to refer me, et cetera, et cetera. So one of the questions I would always ask is, all right, Dustin, let's take a look. How big is your database and what are you doing to manage it? And it's always this like embarrassing, ha ha ha, good question, Ricardo. I know I should have one, but I don't.
Yes.
Or I've been in the business for a decade. This is my database. Like, awesome. It's amazing that you've been doing 4 transactions a month and you've been doing it for a decade. But, that's why I've met realtors that plateau at their production level and they can't get past that production level year over year over year. And when you look, it's because we're not doing anything to delegate busy work to automation and leverage technology and really leverage our database. So I think we were talking off air. The last year I was at my previous role, I went on close to, if not more than 400 one-on-one appointments. And all of those one-on-one appointments started with, let's look at your tech stack and tell me about your database. How do you manage your database? And 8 times out of 10, it was always this embarrassing, I know I should have one, but I don't. Or I use whatever system was given to me by the MLS, or I use whatever system was provided to me by my broker, or I have an Excel spreadsheet, but it just sits there. I need help actively managing it because I don't know what to do with it.
Right.
And I think that's just it. If you give me an agent who has 3,000 leads in his database, leave me alone for 24 hours. We'll run a nurturing campaign or a re-engagement campaign to start to nurture that database before I recommend let's turn around and spend, $3,000 on generating new leads. You can throw money at generating new leads, but if you don't fix the foundation of what's wrong with your process, you're just going to be in the same place 30, 60, 90 days from now.
1,000%. So 3,000, that's a big database, right? I've from when I first got into real estate, I've learned that if you have 200 people in your database, you can make a good living off 200 people.
Yeah.
If you have a system and a process, right? So,
yep.
Since you're at Follow Up Boss and you can kind of see behind the scenes, what are some of the best practices you're seeing? Like how, if somebody has a small database, what should they be doing versus somebody who does have 3,000 in their database? Or is it the same thing? Like, speak to that a little bit.
I think it's so depending on, who you coach with, and there's a lot of different coaches in our industry. They always say sphere of influence. So you may have that many contacts in your database, but how many of them would recognize you by name if you walked into the grocery store?
Great question.
So those, the ones that would recognize you by name if you walked into the grocery store, like, hey, Dustin, what's up, man? Good to see you. Those are people that are within your immediate sphere of influence. So you may have 3,000 contacts in your database, but the ones that recognize you by name are, 20, right? Or 50 or 100. Your goal should be to nurture those 50 or 100 and to turn more of those contacts into sphere of influence. So what I tell agents, it's not your job to convert a lead into a transaction. It's your job to convert a lead into a sphere of influence contact. Develop that sort of, there's always this trust gap that exists. That lead, we call online leads, we call them button pushers and form fillers because they're filling out information not just on your website, they're filling out information on about 1,000 other websites.
Right.
The problem is we have no sense of delayed gratification. We want to take that lead and turn it into a commission check. So one of my top producers once told me, this business is actually easy, Ricardo. We tend to overcomplicate it. I think that, what I try to tell the new realtors that I recruit is this business is easy. It's just meet and talk to people, nurture the relationship, and then close the transaction or negotiate the sale. It's that middle part that gets a little bit messy, the nurture the relationship. We often want to skip that part because we're trying to close the sale.
Right.
And we're not listening to the things that the prospect is really saying. They're not saying no, they're just saying, okay, yes, but I have these concerns. Help me address these concerns, and then I'll trust that you're the resource that can help me with this transaction. Or it's not no, it's just not right now. Well, why is it not right now? Is there a certain life event that they're waiting for and putting off? So they have to wait till after son's graduation or something.
Right.
It's again that nurture the relationship that becomes a messy middle that we end up dropping the ball on because, well, this lead didn't want to close. Let me move on to the next one. So I think that all of our best agents, again, they're just brilliant at the basics. They practice the fundamentals, right? So every lead that comes in it's what am I doing to narrow that trust gap that exists? To am I putting them on an action plan? Am I there was a study that was done. I forget the name of the company, but it was like practicing 6 times equals success. Your chances of converting a lead into a customer increase dramatically the more you try to reach out and connect with them. So are you trying to call them once, twice, and then giving up? Or are you practicing this mantra of 6 times equals success? I think that our best agents have a really good process for following up with leads. They have a really good process for asking qualifying questions. And then they have a really good process for automating that nurture process, not just for the immediate short term, but for the long term. So it's putting them on a long-term drip campaign.
Well, let's talk about that because it's a question that I get asked quite a bit is, okay, I have this list. I have my database. And especially with newer agents, we tell them just go write down everybody that you know, like put them all in a list, and whether that's social media or whatever, just who do you know? Like who's your database? And then the next question naturally is, okay,
now what? What do I do? What do I say?
Yeah. And this is where I think, this is where we overcomplicate it and overthink it and possibly spread ourselves way too thin with, weekly written newsletters and like, all this other stuff. Look, all of it works. Everything works and nothing doesn't. But what are you seeing that's like the tried and true, whether it's a drip campaign or, a drip campaign combined with something else? What should you be doing once you have your list? What's the next step?
That's a tough question, and I can go a couple of different ways with this one. But I think the biggest challenge is, yes, it's true. A lot of times we get stuck because we don't know what to say next, or we don't know what comes next. What's really happening is just is fear. Fear is stopping us in our tracks from what to say because we're afraid of sounding dumb if we say the wrong thing, or we're afraid of rejection. This business, the business of sales, is rejection. Right. It's getting comfortable with the rejection and then practicing and doing so many at-bats that, you start to hit those home runs. But if you don't put in the reps, if you don't put in the practice, then you're not going to overcome that hump. And that hump is always there. I had met, a few years ago, I met this brand new agent, and her coach had recommended, I forget the context of the whole story, but she brought it up as a way to encourage other agents in the room. She's like, hey, this stuff actually works. And it's just getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. Here's what my coach asked me to do, and here's what I did. And I think it was right around like Thanksgiving, December. So November, December. She was just getting licensed, or she had just gotten licensed or whatever. She had just passed the real estate exam. And she was practicing going out on a listing appointment. Now, she's never sold a house. She's a brand new agent. She's like, how am I going to do this? Like, how am I going to go and just get a listing? That makes no sense. Why would you hire me? So what she did is she regularly went to church. So she went to a church one weekend, and she reached out to a group of people that, friends and acquaintances that she's met in church. And she said, hey, so my coach challenged me to go on 20 listing appointments, just mock listing appointments, so that I can practice. I just got my real estate license. I'm joining this awesome real estate brokerage. And, I want to get good. And the only way for me to get good is to really stumble and fall flat on my face until I get better. So can I come over to your house later today and just practice? And then you can coach me and give me feedback. What did I do well? What did I do not so well? And would you have chosen me to be your agent based on, my listing presentation? So she said she went on about 14 of those. 14 people said yes, come by later today, or come by, Tuesday after dinner, whatever. She said 14 people said yes, and by the time she got to number 7, that couple was like, hey, you did such an awesome job. We actually are thinking of listing our house, and you did so great. We want to list it with you.
I love it.
It was awesome. Like, it's amazing. And I think part of the lesson that it teaches is that people want to see you succeed. So don't be afraid to share your story with friends. Don't be afraid to share your story with colleagues. Don't be afraid. basically just to share everything that you're doing because people want to see you succeed. Like, think of somebody who doesn't want to see you succeed. I just can't come up with it.
Right.
So it's getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, and then creating a sort of marketing campaign out of that, and reaching out to your database, your contacts, letting them know what you're working on, et cetera, et cetera. The thing beyond that, I think, is finding ways to deliver items of value. What are you doing to deliver value to your database? Saying things like writing a weekly newsletter, not going to knock it. So I got started in this industry right before the subprime market collapse. And I used to write 2 to 3 articles per. I used to do the boring stuff. I would cold call on farm books, if you remember those. I would get a big farm package delivered by our title company, and I would just flip through it, and it was the most boring thing ever. I would literally pound the phone for, talk to people, see if they were interested in getting lower interest rate. It was brutal. The next thing I would do is like, well, I don't want to do this. I want to build a website and get in front of people that way, because this stuff, hammering through the phone and cold calling, like, not for me. What I did was I wrote 2 to 3 articles a week called Los Angeles Mortgage Rates Report, and then the date. And then I would talk about what's happening on the economic calendar that's going to impact mortgage rates. Should you lock or float your rate? Here's pricing on a 5/1 ARM, 30-year fix, et cetera, subject to pre-qualification, of course. And I would publish that, again, 2 to 3 times a week on my website. And then I would go out and do these lunch and learns. I would do lunch and learns that I would promote to consumers, but I would also do lunch and learns that I would promote to realtors and realtor partners. And it was funny because I was so young then, and realtors would tell me, go get some experience, then come talk to me, or no thanks, I already have an in-house lender. But I'd gotten so good at doing the marketing, and I was getting calls off of strangers that I met from my website, because my website started ranking on page 1 of Google for the phrase Los Angeles mortgage rates. The lesson in all of this is you have to know your numbers. You have to know your market. You have to know your market inside and out. Every time you go out on a listing appointment, you're interviewing against 2, 4, 6 other agents that are, or against 4 or 5 other agents that are 2, 4, 6 years your senior. So you got to look the part, you got to talk the part, and every single piece of marketing collateral that you're delivering needs to say, dang, this guy really knows the market better than each and every one of those agents. So do you send a templated, stock newsletter because you want to scratch something off your list? Like, there's a marketing activity. I got this. I shipped it. Like, I got this one done for the week. Or
with a recipe in it.
With a recipe in it, right? Yes. Or do you find other ways to deliver items of value? So, like, one of the biggest ways and most profitable ways for a lot of my clients in one of my previous roles of delivering this item of value is if you're farming a specific neighborhood, and you're doing your there's a local print company here that's been in the business for, I think, 17 years. And they have this 8-week, 8-touch campaign. And they send out just listed, just sold, and it's a series of postcards that goes out every week, because consistency breeds that sort of brand recognition and trust, right?
Yes.
What was I going to say? With these postcards, on the back of the postcard, it's kind of like it's that peel effect, like the postcard's peeling. It's a website, and it says, want to know what your home is worth? Go to ricardoshomevalues.com. Right? So you get some of these leads that they do because the neighbor's house just sold for $50,000 above asking, or $100,000 above asking. How crazy this market is.
Right.
They're curious. They want to know, well, heck, how much would I get for mine? So they fill out this form. Maybe that form is a home bought form, right? So now you've got them on an automated drip campaign, and you're delivering this home bought monthly digest that says, your home value has been updated for 123 Main Street. The way I would think about, am I delivering value, is one of the scripts that we use 30 days after you put them on HomeBot or My List Report or HomeBeat or any number of these tools that are out there. The tool itself doesn't matter. It's that you're delivering some item of value. And people want to know what their home is worth. Like, believe me, they do.
Yes.
They check it the way they check their checking account balance, or the way they check their stock price on whatever stock they own. It's what's the word I'm looking for? It's sticky. 30 days after that, what we do is we send out an email blast. So if you're in a system like Follow Up Boss or whatever CRM you're using, you just pull up a segment that says, show me all of my contacts who are, getting a monthly home value update. And then you can send a bulk email blast to each of those contact records. And the email would say, hey, Dustin, you've been getting my free wealth building tool, HomeBot. I imagine you looked at it and thought, well, my home is worth way more than this. Well, here's what you need to know. Realtors and tools like Zillow and worse, other real estate professionals are using tools like this to figure out your home's value as well. But for a home like yours, technology isn't enough. You need human expertise and storytelling to inspire people to see your home's value beyond the algorithm. If you'd like an expert human evaluation of your home, reply to this email and we'll take care of the rest.
That's gold.
And it's like, that's solid, right? Because if you would like an expert human valuation of your home, reply to this email and we'll take care of the rest.
It's educational,
what I tell people
too. You just taught them
1,000%.
Work,
1,000%. 1,000%. What I tell people, most people get stuck on, well, how accurate is the value? The accuracy of the value doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because for how many years have people been looking at what's the one place people would always look at to see what their home is worth?
Zestimate or county records.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Right. So every time you go on a listing appointment, what was the single biggest objection you would always get? Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's great, Ricardo. But Zillow says my house is worth X amount more.
Right.
So the accuracy of the value doesn't matter. You're just shifting the conversation. I was almost going to say shipping. You're just shifting the conversation and really just educating them, like you said, on how the process actually works. So it's just thinking through. You have to think through, how am I going to be strategic? How am I going to shift people's perception, whether it's faulty or it's not? But really, how am I going to educate them and deliver some value there to put my foot, or to give myself an opportunity, just to get my foot in the door, and set myself up to have a conversation with this prospect. That's what this is.
There was so much gold in that, specific verbiage on a follow-up email and all that stuff. That could also be a video that you do that all of a sudden shows up in their news feed if you learn some retargeting or do a bomb video or whatever. But you just showed that they just have to start, right? I think so many agents are thinking, okay, well, I need to hit a home run every single time.
No,
and they're trying to figure out how all that works. So then they don't even do the first step. They don't. They're not just like. There's a lot of agents who have never announced that they are realtors to their database.
Correct.
They never launched properly.
Correct.
Maybe you've been an agent for 8 years and you've never actually introduced yourself as a real estate agent to your database yet.
Correct.
There's basics that you do, and then it leads to the next thing and the next thing, and it's the combination of all of it that the right people filter through.
Correct.
So you just gave some great perspective that hopefully, flips the thinking a little bit with a lot of agents that are trying to just hit home runs all the time, but you don't control that. You just control creating this funnel and a few different steps, and you just get some people in it, and then they will find their way through if they're right. And how simple is that?
Yep.
I mean,
100%.
You've got to have some tools to make it happen, but those are simple too, So, Ricardo, let's talk a little bit more through that. The tools, for example. So to implement something like what you just mentioned, you mentioned HomeBot, which there's a lot of agents on my team that swear by HomeBot. I mean, it's like the Credit Karma for your home value.
That's right. 100%.
In the consumer's eyes. With Credit Karma, they're like, hey, your score went up or down this month. And they just get notified every month. Well, HomeBot's like, hey, your home value went up or down. And it has graphs and cool stuff.
So many different data points. Correct.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if it's accurate. Not the point.
Yes. And I'm so glad you mentioned that too. It should open the door to a conversation where you remind people, hey, this is just an algorithm telling you what your house is worth. They've never seen inside. You should, if you want to know how much your home is worth, someone should probably look inside and consider the interior.
Correct.
So it's an opportunity to educate. And so what are some of the tools needed to implement something like this?
So, I mean, everything should start with your CRM. Every single marketing activity that you do should start with your CRM. So when I said at my previous role, I went on like 400 appointments. That was in 1 year. That's not including classes. I would do about 8 to 12 classes a month. During the pandemic, a lot of those switched to webinar, so it was virtual. Prior to that, it was a lot of like live classes. So I live in Orange County, California. And I thought to myself, I didn't know this, but I figured out that the local, I think it was Total Wine, will give you free meeting space and free wine tasting if you can put 15 butts in seats.
What? That's great.
That's wild to me. And some of these locations have an amazing, like, it looks like a freaking conference center. A big projector that pops down, an area for like serving food and catering, because they do what? They do wine tasting. Yeah. And I was like, wait, you'll give my audience free wine tasting if I just bring them and do a class? And you'll give me the room for free? This is amazing. And I would start, yeah, it's brilliant. I would start to tell my realtors, like, hey, stop hosting lunch and learns at the office and come do them at Total Wine. Not the point of any of this story whatsoever.
Well, now we know about Total Wine, which I'm in Utah and I had no clue that exists. So that's cool.
That's awesome. The point of this story was that those are a lot of face-to-face meetings, and that's a lot of follow-up for me to do with both the people in my classes and the people that I was meeting one-on-one.
Right.
There's no way that I can manage remembering a conversation that I had or remembering just where to go from there or what the next step would be. So my brain, the way my brain works and the way I function is, and a mentor taught me this maybe like 2 years ago. It was, you need to get yourself to a place. If you want growth, if you want explosive growth, Ricardo, you need to get to a place where you're operating 100% out of highest and best use of time. So how can you automate, delegate, or delete the stuff that is wasting your time? And literally what I did was, when I had baby number one, so I have 2 kids now, just recently had a baby boy.
Nice.
My daughter is 1 year and 8 months. When I had my daughter, I knew that I wanted to take 30 days off, because that time is invaluable, and they just really do grow up so fast.
Oh yeah.
So I wanted to spend time, and I wanted to spend time with family, because this was a first kid and, new life. We're going to be flipped upside down, and it's just a new journey, right? I knew that I wanted to spend more time with family, so I hired a personal assistant. And what I did was I went through and different companies will tell you, but like a good practice is I basically went down and I wrote what I'm doing every 10 to 15 minutes throughout my day. I basically wrote down my day. I put an asterisk next to the stuff that didn't require my unique skill set. So my brain building a funnel, or my voice, me being on the phone. That's the stuff that I can delegate to the assistant. And so one of the other unique talents that I have is, one of the first software companies I worked at was a company called Diverse Solutions. It was an IDX provider. It had the first indexable WordPress IDX plugin. We had 4 different versions of our product. I literally wrote all of the product training and documentation for all of our product. It amounted to a little over 100 technical documentation, a little over 100 written and video articles that walked you step by step how to implement and do different things with our product. So because my brain thinks that way, what did I do with my assistant? I wrote down an SOP for all of the stuff, standard operating procedure, for all of the stuff that I needed to get done and wanted her to do. And then I created Loom videos to talk her through the process. So right now, some of that stuff is like building a landing page for a webinar, I can do it. I can do it really quickly. But I'm at a point in my career where, should I be doing that? Yes, I love tinkering with building a website, building a funnel, et cetera, but my time is better served doing something else.
Yes.
So I hand that off to my assistant, and she has, I use Basecamp. She has step-by-step tutorials. Here's how you build the Canva template for the header. Here's how you build the landing page. Here's how you build the opt-in form. Here's how you do this. Here's how you do that, blah, 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 blah. And if she ever gets stuck, I have the Loom video that says, hey, Stephanie, here's what we're going to cover in this video. Here's why we build the funnel this way. Here's why we think of it this way. Here's why we do the steps in this order. If you have any questions or suggestions for how to improve this flow, don't hesitate to get in touch. And so I have so many of those SOPs for so many different redundant parts in my day-to-day. And what did that give me? It gave me more time to spend with my family.
Yes.
The other things that I do is I forget where I read this. I follow a few. I think it was Dr. Julie Garner. They call her the Wendy Rhodes of Billions, the real life Wendy Rhodes of Billions. If you've ever seen the show Billions.
Oh God, yes. I love Wendy Rhodes. She's a badass.
Yeah. Oh yeah, heck yeah, 100%. Yeah. So this is the real life version of her, and I think she posted one day and said, if you have a problem with delegation, you don't have a problem with delegation. You have trust issues.
Yeah.
And so, like, for me, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of things that I was like scared to delegate or hand off because I thought to myself, well, only I know how to do this well. That's not true. Turns out my assistant knows how to do a lot of things really well. And even if she's only shipping it at 80% or 90%, like that's better than nothing.
Right.
And that's going to get
probably better too, right?
There's 1,000%. 1,000%. Not only is she like willing to learn and how to troubleshoot and workshop through something, but she gets it so like nearly 100% of the way there. And so over time, like if you have a problem with delegation, you have trust issues, you kind of do, because guess what? There is somebody, like, you can afford to delegate this and your business will probably be better off for it 1,000%. And then the last part is delete the stuff in your workflow or your day that doesn't serve you any purpose.
Right.
So going back to the point of any of this was it was a lot for me to follow up with. So what I did is I basically built in Follow Boss, we call them action plans. I basically built drip campaigns. What I created was I created a form on my website that only I had access to. And then I checked off, okay, had a great meeting with Dustin. We talked about Follow Boss, check. We talked about HomeBot, check. We talked about Real Scout, because he's using Real Scout to send listing alerts to his clients. And then we talked about a few of these other tools. And for each of those products, I had a drip campaign that said, and it was an educational sequence, hey Dustin, it was great meeting you today and talking to you about Follow Boss. Here's a recap of some of the tools that we talked about, and it was Follow Boss, HomeBot, et cetera, et cetera. Over the next couple of days and weeks, you're going to be getting emails that'll educate you on how to better use these products in your business. If you have any questions along the way, please feel free to reply to any one of these emails, or just go to my calendar here and book a follow-up appointment. This way, it was out of sight, out of mind is the wrong thing, I think. But this way, I had a way to kind of have a legitimate business excuse to be in their inbox. They were opening my emails. I was staying top of mind. I was delivering value, educating them, all the way up until we scheduled that follow-up appointment. And that follow-up appointment was just an audit of how far along have you gotten with Follow-Up Boss? Have you implemented the stuff that I've been teaching you over the last, few days, weeks? How far along have you gotten with HomeBot, et cetera, et cetera? And I wouldn't let them schedule that follow-up appointment until they uploaded their database to Follow Boss, until they uploaded their database to HomeBot. And we had some actual data to analyze during our next meeting. So this all sounds great, Ricardo, but I don't really get it. I'm a realtor. How do I spin this to make sense for me? It's literally the same thing. You're going out and meeting how many dozens of different people, how many dozens of different conversations, how many dozens of different, scenarios and objections and et cetera, et cetera. And how many times do you lose a listing because you dropped the ball? You forgot to follow up with that person, or that buyer who you thought, you were going to get across the finish line, all of a sudden went and closed with someone else. Like, what the heck happened?
Right.
You need to automate your touch points with each of those different people so that you are top of mind constantly. You are delivering value and you are differentiating yourself from those 4 or 5 other people that you're competing with for their business. So for me, if I met somebody at an open house, I'd put them on a drip campaign, and I think of it as, let's get aggressive within that 7-day window. Because what did I say earlier? Online leads, or even people at those open houses, they're button pushers and form fillers. They're not just giving your information to you; they're giving it to about 10 or 12 other different people and websites. So I want to get aggressive within that 7-day window. My first email might be like, "Hey, details for 123 Main Street. Hey, Dustin, it was really great meeting you. I wanted to shoot you over the listing details for 123 Main Street. It really is a great home, but I understand that great for one person isn't great for every person. So would you like me to send you a list of homes similar to 123 Main Street? If so, just hit reply and let me know." I'll follow up with a text so that you have my number in case it's easier to call or text. And then you get the text message. In Follow Boss, you can automate the first text message that goes out. Hey, Ricardo, or hey, Dustin, it's Ricardo. Wanted you to have my phone number in case it's easier to call or text. Feel free to reach out anytime. Talk soon. Next email, in case they don't respond, is something like, "Not yet, ? Hey, Dustin, maybe 123 Main Street isn't the right home for you. So can you tell me a little bit more about your dream home? How many beds are you looking for? How many baths? Are you looking for a specific feature like a big swimming pool for those awesome summer barbecues? I don't know if you know this, but most portals out there only have about 60 to 70% of the listings. As a local real estate professional, I have access to 100% of the listings straight from the MLS, including some off-market properties too. Whatever the case, just want you to know I'm here to help. Talk soon." And then the last email, we get a high response to this one, is, "Hey, Dustin, I'll take your not responding as a sort of back off signal. I totally get it. Right now may not be the right time to buy for you, but I just want you to know that whether you're looking to buy in 2 years, in 2 months, 6 months, or 2 years, my team and I are here to help. In the meantime, I'm going to set you up with the HomeBot Monthly Market Digest. It'll help you explore the market based on what's most important to you. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to get in touch." And then that's it. You move them off of your 7-day aggressive drip campaign. You're delivering now a monthly item of value, and then you check in once a quarter. A quarter from now, you might say, "Hey, Dustin, it's been a while since we talked about buying a home. Are you still thinking of buying in Costa Mesa this year? ? And in Follow Boss, you can use a merge field to show them, 5 of the latest listings that they've maybe looked at on your website.
That's so awesome.
If they don't engage or convert, then you put them on a 6-month re-nurture sequence. So I do this with my database. This is your version of doing it with your database. Once every 6 months with my database, I send one of 2 emails, and it's just a cleanup email. I'm trying to clean house and delete any inactive subscribers. I'll send an email that says "Open up or lose me forever," or "Open up, baby, good stuff inside." And it's just like, "Hey, Dustin, it's been a while since you opened one of my emails. Here are some of the most impactful webinars that I've delivered or podcasts that I've recorded over the last 2 months. I'm going to be cleaning house soon. If you want to stay on this email list, just click the link below. And if you don't, no hard feelings. Wish you the very best." And then that's it. If they click, they stay opted in. If they don't, then I remove them from my list. And it's a way of keeping my open rates high, engagement level high, et cetera, et cetera. Right now, with every email that I send, I get about 51, 54, 56% open rate. That's pretty good for our industry. Like, those are pretty good industry averages.
Yeah, anything over 30 is pretty solid.
I think so.
Yeah.
If the real estate version of this, it's sending what we call a re-engagement campaign. So, "Hey, Dustin, it's been a while since you contacted me about buying a home. The market has changed, so I have interest rates, and I just wanted to reach out to share some of the latest updates and options for buyers. Let me know when's a good time for us to chat. Otherwise, I'll try you in the morning." And then you send another follow-up email and then another follow-up email. And the version of that "not yet" email, it's the same one I used before. It's, "Hey, I'll take your not responding as a sort of back off signal. whether you're looking to buy 2 months, 6 months, or 2 years. Want you to know I'm here to help. In fact, why don't you email me back your story? I look forward to hearing from you. And the reason we say, in fact, why don't you email me back your story? I look forward to hearing from you, is because you've already tried the call to action of let's schedule an appointment to see what your buying or selling needs are. Let's schedule an appointment to see what your buying needs and selling are. And you basically didn't hit. And it's because they don't have a buying or selling need right now. That CTA on that last email is different because I'm trying to solicit a different response from them. I want to know, hey, what's going on in your life right now that is making this not an option for you? And so if you say, in fact, why don't you email me back your story? I look forward from hearing from you. What you're going to get is a ton of responses. And some of those are going to be, hey, Dustin, it's really great hearing from you. Unfortunately, I'm sorry to say we already sold our house and we're happily living in Idaho now.
Right.
Or hey, it's not that I'm not interested. I am. I'm waiting for my son to finish high school before we move over, blah, blah, blah. What'll happen is people will start to email you their life story. And that's also a great place to be.
Great. Dude, Ricardo, this is gold. And I wasn't expecting us to go into like the, what the drip campaigns look like and the verbiage and everything. I'm so glad you did, because it's a very common question. It's like, cool, I know I'm supposed to do drip campaigns, but what do they say? All that. And like, there's no magical words, but if you can get these concepts dialed in, say it your own way, it works better than if it's like this big long paragraph and a really shitty, uninteresting subject line.
1,000%.
Agents are terrible with subject lines. All of this helps. So, Ricardo, this has been such an educational episode. I'd love to have you back again and dive deeper. I mean, we have a hard stop at the top of the hour, so I hate to stop you in the middle of this.
All good.
Yeah, but I want to make sure we blow through the what are they called? I want to call it the lightning round.
The
I can't
the
even
rapid
remember.
fire questions.
The rapid fire questions. Thank you for remembering before me. Yes, and then we'll let everyone know where they can find you and learn more about you and Follow Up Boss and all that, and then we'll wrap it up. So, Ricardo, either or. You don't need to elaborate on these. Just pick one or the other, and then at the end we'll let people know where they can find you and learn more from you personally. Facebook or Instagram?
Oh, Instagram, 1,000%.
Yes, Instagram.
I didn't even hesitate.
No, you didn't. Instagram or TikTok?
Instagram for some reason. Can't get into TikTok.
Books or podcasts?
Although they do share some good recipes. Books, 100%.
Physical
books,
book.
100%.
Okay.
Physical book. I don't know why. And then podcasts occasionally, but I have to listen to them on 1.5 or 2 times speed.
Oh, absolutely. I can't listen to podcasts or audiobooks at less than 1.5. I'm like, spit it out. Come on. Rental properties or flipping?
Oh, rental properties all the way. My parents have owned rental properties growing up.
Nice.
I'm not handy with these hands. I can build the world's most complex funnels, but not flip a property. It's just not for me.
Well, anyone that's held rental properties over the last decade is doing pretty well.
This is true.
Yeah. Burgers or pizza?
Dang, burgers.
New York or LA?
Ooh. I'm going to say LA. New York is the one city I've never visited.
Really?
And it's because every time Inman, New York has come up, I've always had a paid opportunity somewhere else.
Ah, I get it. I love New York, man. I mean, COVID made it
just
insane, and I haven't been back.
So elusive.
Yeah. But we both need to go. Maybe we'll go at the same time. NFL or NBA?
Oh, NBA.
Basketball or football?
Basketball.
Okay. Mountains or
Played
beach?
basketball growing up. Mountains. I think I hate the sand. I hate the dirtiness of like having to wash your car after being at the beach all day.
Fair enough.
But I would love to go snowboarding, maybe mountain biking. I don't enjoy mountain biking as much as snowboarding.
Love it. YouTube or Facebook Live?
YouTube.
Uber or Lyft?
There's a new show on Showtime talking about Uber and Lyft. I forget the name of it.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
Uber.
I need to watch that. That looks good. Last one. Gary Vee or Grant Cardone?
That is so funny. I'm going to go Gary Vee.
Right on. I'm with you. Ricardo, where can people find you and follow you and hear more of your expertise and brilliance?
That's awesome. I write and record or publish podcast episodes over at ricardobueno.com.
Nice.
I'll give you a link to the scripts that I shared with you. Those are at followup.link. So followup.link.
Okay.
You can download those there.
We'll add those to the show notes as well.
If you want to, yeah. And if you want to learn more about Follow Up Boss, what we do, how we do it, that one's easy too. Just go to followupboss.com.
There you go. Ricardo, I really appreciate you coming on the show. I appreciate you personally. I appreciate Follow Up Boss. You guys have been great partners of this show and of agents in our industry. It's just an amazing platform and tool. I'll definitely have you back so we can dive deeper on some of the stuff we were just getting into there at the end. But I appreciate it so much, man.
Oh, thank you, and thank you guys.
Absolutely. Talk soon.
All right. Bye.